So welcome once again children, and now today we are going to start with user defined functions and functions. I hope you already know now. Now children, we already have studied about the library function. Now just I want to revise about the function. We say that functions are the members of the class. They exist within a class, and children, one more thing is that these functions contain statements to create objects, to work on objects and other executable program. So your class contains functions and objects, and these objects are created by the functions also. And children, these functions in Java are also called as methods. So you can even call functions as methods, and in other programming language they are called as subprograms, subroutines, procedures, modules. So these are different names to given to functions when we are talking about function. Now children, the question comes that function is the executable part of the program. So it is a class, and within a class you have functions, and these functions are the executable part of the program. And children, what is the use of dividing your big program into smaller modules or into function? So there are few importance, or there are few important thing which we must know about functions. That the first thing is children, that when we use functions, it helps us in the following ways. That means it makes the program simple and light coded, or you can say that it makes the program simple. Simple means children, you all know that if you a big task is given to us, what we do, we divide that task into smaller parts. Say for example, in a school, when we have the annual function or the annual sports, so all the things are not handed over to one person or to one teacher or to one group of teachers. What we do, we divide that task into smaller modules. Say one part is given to a group of teachers, say welcome dance is given to a set of teachers, then English play is given to someone else, Hindi play is given to someone else, and so everybody is working on their items, and then everything gets mixed together and one big program is formed. In the same way children, if you see your Windows, you can see that window is not one single program, it is a collection of many programs. So you have many things in Windows, like you have MS Office, you have say different packages which are there in the window, there are different things which you are doing. So there are different programs. So what is done is that when window might have been made, these individual programs must be given to individual groups, and then together they come together to form a big program. In the same way children, when we make our program and we see that our program is very big, we divide it into smaller parts called as functions. That is one important thing. And when we divide our big task into smaller tasks, it makes our task easy also. Then the next thing is children, when we are making our programs into functions, it helps in reusability of code. So we can again reuse the same thing, or you can say inheritance. Say if I make a program and I make a part of the program over here, and say in the next time when I make a program and I see that the same thing I have written in my previous program, I can inherit this part of the program. So it makes the program light coded also, since we are inheriting. When you write your own program, you make use of many library functions. So when you make use of those library functions, you don't write those programs, you just execute them. That makes your program light coded. So what you are doing is you are following the concept of inheritance. And the third very important point of a function is that when you write your function and somebody else want to inherit it, it is executable part it is getting inherited. You cannot see what is written inside it. So it is following the feature of data hiding. So use of function is making a program simple. Use of function is making a program light coded by the concept of inheritance, and use of function is also helping in data hiding. Since we can access any program, you can access programs like length, like pow, like sqrt, but you don't know what is written inside it. So you just know how to execute those functions, but you don't know what is written inside it. That is data hiding. So children, it is helping us in data hiding also. And children, use of function also helps us in you can say in function or functions. When we use as function overloading, it helps in polymorphism. Polymorphism is a principle of object oriented programming, where we say that the same objects can be used in different ways. We are going to study this also. So it is following the feature of polymorphism. So functions are helping us in these three or four benefits are there or importance are there for functions or methods. Now children, when we are talking about functions, we all know that when you use function, the function must be created. So if you want to use something, it must be created before. So library function, when we were talking about library function, they were created for us before by the Java compilers or by the Java software engineers. They were created and they are being created every day, and they get added into the Java language and we can use those functions. But you can also create your own functions. So when we want to create our own function, we are studying them under the topic user defined. I am the user, I am defining my own function. So it is called as user defined one. So if you want to use a function, it must first be defined or created, and then it must be further used. It is not a new thing, children. If you want to eat samosa, then it must first be prepared and then only you can eat. But many times you go to the market, buy samosa and you eat it. But you say that, sir, we have not created or we have not made this samosa, but someone else has made for it. So in the same way, library function, someone else has made those functions and we are using. Here we are going to make our own functions and we are going to use our own functions. So user defined function we are going to study under two headings. First is creating a function. Creating a function. But children, in computer we don't call this word creating a function, it is called as defining a function. So defining a function, this is the first thing we do. We can only use a user defined function once it is created or once it is defined. And second is using a function. Using a function. But children, this using word is also not used over here. It is used, many different names are used for using a function, and they are called as accessing a function. Accessing a function. It is also called as calling a function. It is also called as passing a function. It is also called as executing a function. It is also called as accessing, calling, passing, executing, and you can even call it as referencing. Referencing a function. So children, this is the second thing where we are using this function, but all these terms can be used: creating, accessing, using, passing, executing, referencing, and even children, one more word can come over here: invoking. Invoking a function. So children, it is a two-step process. When we want to use function, it must first be created or defined, and then it must be used. So I hope children this is clear. So I have discussed what is a function. A function is a member of a class and it is the executable part of the program. It is also called as method in Java. In other languages it is called as subprogram, subroutines, procedures. You can even call it as modules. And in user defined functions we use, it helps us. It has three important points: that it makes our program simple, first thing, because we divide our program and we make it simple. We follow the concept of divide and conquer. So the next step is that it makes a program light coded, because in functions we use the concept of inheritance. We call some other function for execution, so it is making our program light coded or small also. Then the third thing is it is helping us in data hiding. We can only access someone's function, but we do not know the details of it. So we are following the function of abstraction and encapsulation over there. And reusing means we are following the concept of inheritance. And object-oriented programming concept is that programming in object-oriented programming becomes simple. So children, the next thing is that when we want to use a function, it must first be created and then must be used. So even the library functions which we studied, they are being created before and we are using them. But the functions which we are defining, we have to create them also, and we have to then only can use it. So children, I hope this part is clear. Now we come to creating a function. Now children, when we create a function, there is a syntax for creating a function which we already know, And the syntax for creating a function is written like this. So first of all, we are following the defining of function. So the syntax is way of writing. The syntax of writing a function is that we first write the access specifier, then we write the modifier, and then we write the return type, then we write the function name, then we have a bracket, and here I write argument list. So children, this is the syntax for defining a function, and this is the first line of the function. The first line of the function definition is also called as function prototype. So the function prototype, this word will also come in the later part of this. The function prototype is the first line of the function definition, and after the function prototype we have the body of the function where we define our function. Now this is the syntax, children. Here now you can say that here we have statements of defining a function. Now children, we come to examples. Say example 1, I write public. This is the access specifier, and it can be public, private, protected, or you can even leave a blank, which is default. And these access specifiers are going to tell us the access level of this function. The access level of this function means who can use this function and who cannot access this function, who can use this and who cannot use it. If I have defined my function as public, then anyone from the same class, from other packages may use this function. If I define it as private, then only this class can use this function. If I define it as public, protected, then children, only the members of the same class or members which are of the other class, which is the subclass of that, can use it. And if I leave it blank, then only the package within where all the classes are defined, only that can be used. So it is telling us the access level. Now this modifier, children, this is optional. You can write it, you cannot write it. Here you can write keywords like static, native. You can use any other word like hybrid. So many other words are used over here, and it can be used, I'll just let you know, it can be final, native, static, volatile, and these keywords are going to define the nature of this function. Say if I use the keyword static, then that means that nobody can make a copy of this function. Everybody can make use of this function, but nobody can make a copy of this function. So if you want your function to be used by others, you have to make it static. Otherwise, anyone can come and they can make a copy of this function. So that we don't want. So if you make it final, if in place of this final, then you cannot make any changes within the function. If you make it volatile means that you can make changes in that function. So this, many times you see that we don't write these keywords. So modifier is modifying the nature of this function. Then children, the next is return type. Return type is any primitive data type. You have 8 primitive data type and 1 string. So 9 return type and 1 void can be used. You can make use of over here as byte. You can write short. You can write int, long, double, float, boolean, character. Even you can write string. But children, your function, if it is returning a value, then you write any of these data types. But if your function is not returning any data type, then you use the keyword void. Void means null. So many times a question has been used, what is the role of the keyword void while defining a function? So we say that void is used as a return type for those functions which do not returns any value. And children, I have discussed before that when we are talking about these functions are of 2 types. A returnable function which returns a value, and a non-returnable function which do not return any value. So if I have declared my function as void, then this function is not going to return any value. And the next is children return type. I have written then function name. Say I write my function's name as output, and it can be with parameter and without parameter. So this function which I have defined over here is without parameter. So it is a non-parameterized function. So you even have functions which are non-parameterized, and you have functions which are parameterized. I'll give you an example of it. And say children, I define this function as, say I write happy new year. And children, when I write this program and when I execute this program is just not returning any value to me, but it is going to display this output happy new year. And children, another function which I am defining over here is, I am defining another function public. I am not writing a modifier over here, and I am saying public double. And I write cal. And I write double A and double B. And I write double C is equal to A into B. And I write return C. Now children, this is a non-returnable function which I have written void, and this function I say is a returnable function which is returning me a value of type double. So I have taken its return type as double. The name of this function is cal. And children, in this function I have used two arguments. I have defined two arguments. So this parameter list or this argument list is a list of variables separated by comma along with their data types. So it is a comma separated list of variables along with their data type. So children, when I am going to call this function, I am going to give two values to it. Say these two values will get stored in A and B, and that value will be passed over here to A and B, and it will be used. And children, all the functions which I write without void with other data types which are returnable function, I add another statement to it, that is the return statement. This is very important. Now this function, what it is doing is it is accepting two values A and B. It is multiplying these two values. So you will get a product in double only because you are multiplying these two double numbers. And that value gets stored in C, and I say return C. Return C means this function is going to give me some value, and this value is being given to me by this return statement. So this return statement is going to give me a value, or is going to give the value to that program through which this function is called, and this value is stored in C. So this value you get over there. We'll see how this value gets returned. So one more thing we have learned over there is the return statement. Now children, in Java I have already taught you two jump statement, that is break statement and continue statement. Now this is my third jump statement. You cannot call this third, you can even call it first, the other two as second and third. So this is my third return statement, and a question has come in the board exam, what is the purpose of the return statement? So you say that return statement is the last statement of the returnable functions, and its function is to return back the value from the called function to the calling function. Say I call up this particular program from another program. So this is called as calling function. This is called as the called function. And this return statement is going to transfer the value from this called function back to that calling function. And it is also going to transfer this value from the called function back to the calling function. So we say that return statement is a jump statement in Java, and it transfers the control along with the value from the called function back to the calling function. And children, since this function is not returning any value, don't need a return statement. It automatically goes back. The control automatically transfers back to the main program. So these returnable functions which are there, you either print their value, you use them as an expression, or you print them. You cannot directly call them without any assignment, because these values are going to give you any value. So the calling function must have a statement to accept those values. So those you are going to write. So children, here we have seen few things, that When you are creating a function, you write its syntax like this. Access specifier, it may be public, private, protected or default. This is going to define the access level of the function, that who is going to use this function and who cannot use this function. Modifier is going to change the state of the function. It can be static, final, native, volatile. So these keywords are going to change its nature. Then the return type, you have two types of function, returnable and non-returnable. Non-returnable function, you use the keyword void. This is the return type of those functions which do not return any value. And if you have a function which is returning a value, then you can use double, int, float, whatever value this function is returning, that data type you write over there. Then function name, it is the name of the function. It is very important. Name of the function is for the identity of this function. When you call these functions, you call these functions with their name. And when you are writing these names, you must follow the rules for identifier, the naming rules which we have studied before. Then we have the argument list. The argument list is a comma separated list of variables along with their data types. The argument list may be empty. If your function does not require any argument, then your argument list is empty. Then children, the first statement which you have written in function definition is called as function prototype. This is very important. Function prototype. So the function prototype, you say that your function is having two parts. The two parts are, this is the header and this is the body of the function. So your function has two parts, the header, the heading line, and the body of the function. The header is the function prototype. So the first line of the function definition is called as the header, and it contains the access specifier, the modifier, the return type, the function name, and the list of arguments. And there is one more thing, children. This parameter list is also called as function signature. So you have a function prototype, which is the complete line of the first line of the function definition, and function signature is the list of parameters enclosed within parentheses in a function prototype. So function signature is a part of function prototype. So is it clear, children? Now definition part is clear. Now we'll move on to the accessing part of it, which I will cover in my next video. But children, some important terms have come which are asked in the paper. Access specifiers are asked. Then the next thing is void. What is void? What is return? What is function prototype? What is function signature? What is the difference between a function and a constructor? What is a function? Give an example. What are library functions? What are user defined functions? And you are asked these particular things. So please go through this, and I have covered all this through this video, but just go through your book also and you will find these terms. Just learn these definitions because they will be hard. So thank you very much, children, and next topic will be the second part of it, that is accessing a function. Thank you very much.